Welcome everyone. We're waiting just a more minute for more people to join, but I think we're about to start in a minute or so. Thank you. All right, let's get started. Well, welcome everyone to this webinar. Today we're going to talk about fintech platforms, how to rapidly build them and launch them. We have two wonderful panelists, Mary Hernandez, COO of SUMA Wealth, and Cindy Snow, product strategist at MX. So as you know, this webinar, we always cover the subjects about product strategy, product design, product engineering. Those are the areas that we love. So normally we try to cover all those things, some business, some technical, some design, and a little bit of a strategy of the companies. So this series of webinar, and this year we're going to focus a lot on the fintech space. As you know, we're specialized in the fintech and crypto space. So all this year we're going to cover different subjects about fintech. So this is definitely something that is going to be interesting, and we're going to be doing it every 2 months. So we have about 100 plus registries. People are from startup founders, people from banks, companies, different fintechs, engineering, people interested in this subject just in general. And we have a mix of larger, small startup companies, so different ranges of companies for sure. And at the same time, different mixes of roles, so product managers, CTOs, product designers, director of technology. So definitely different, a very diverse audience. Something that is super important, we're celebrating International Women's Month in March. So that's something that we are super proud of, and we have a sneak peek to share later on. But let's get started. So I'm going to introduce you to our panelists today. So let's get started. So we have Mary Hernandez, COO at SUMA Wealth. SUMA Wealth, well, it's a company that we admire and we work really closely. Mary has 15 plus years of experience scaling multiple digital media businesses. And SUMA, well, definitely Mary in her career, and you see it at SUMA, is definitely dedicated to the Latino and Latinas space in technology and media, right? And she was definitely very involved in growing Me Too, one of basically the largest media company in the Latinx Latin markets. It's a company that we've seen through the years being very powerful in the message to the Latino community. And talking a little bit about SUMA, and we're going to give some time to Mary to introduce herself soon. But basically, SUMA is a fintech platform helping Latinos build wealth. So basically, we have many things on the financial wellness, education, community building. It's a 470,000 plus community member, which is a huge number. Have raised 3.3 million in capital, and I mean many things. We have launched a lot of product together from the platform last year to the things like mobile app and subscription. So that's something that we're going to talk a little bit about during the webinar. Then moving forward, well, Cindy, fintech specialist consultant at MX, again, somebody that I admire pretty much. We've been working closely, especially also with SUMA, 15 plus years of experience in the fintech and SaaS and e-commerce areas and nonprofit. She was director of product and then COO of Form Free. She was very award named by Housewire magazine as one of top 50 operational all-stars. So I love the all-star the all-star title. Definitely, she's all-star. And then MX is definitely a partner that we like to work with and trust. I mean, in any fintech, you will need a company like MX for connecting your bank account, to providing you aggregated data, providing you things like insights. I mean, they have a whole suite of solutions that, talking about rapidly building and launching a fintech, definitely MX is the partner that you want to work with. And again, we're going to let Cindy tell us a little bit about MX in a moment. Cool. Then finally, introducing myself a little bit. I'm one of the founding partners and CTO at Hello Iconic. I've been doing products for 20 plus years. I've been working in different areas, but always building consumer-facing products, especially. Been working, I mean, on the blockchain side of things, on the fintech sector, in the past, also a lot of the streaming and entertainment side of things. A couple of awards there. As well. I don't like to talk that much about myself, but yeah, basically been doing this. I love doing products, and I think that's something that you're gonna notice in the company. And then as Hello Iconic, more importantly, yeah, we help companies that want to launch a product, focus on the fintech and crypto space. We've launched products for millions of people, millions of users, literally. And in the fintech space, working with companies like SUMA, Change Company, Kinley, Of Color, and similar. So really pushing and forward thinking companies. And then on other areas, we work with Disney, Viacom, and all that on the entertainment side of things. Many of the clients that we're super proud of to be working with. So next. Yeah, so some of our products at scale. And again, like we're celebrating International Women's Month. So a little bit of a video from our team at Hello Iconic. Awesome. Yeah, and well, we probably didn't get the full audio, but I think something that is super important. We have really strong initiatives on women, bringing more women to the company, helping women to grow to senior positions, and then sharing all the knowledge to bringing more women to the space. We have an equal pay philosophy with open salaries and all that. So it's something that we're super proud of. We started for literally one women in the company. Right now we're 30% plus. Our goal is to get in the next few years to 50% women in the company, which I think is it's definitely possible, and we have seen it happening. We're gonna have space for questions. Like, feel free to ask questions during the panel, and we're gonna keep looking at them. And at the same time, we're gonna leave some space at the end of the panel, just so we have more questions. But I think that's it for the intro. So let's just get started. Yeah, so as we were talking about, we are going to be discussing all this series of panels and webinars about this different subjects: open banking, open finance, embedded finance, and how now with this new era of fintech, we can definitely connect a lot of the elements, and there's a lot of API based, and there's a lot of integrations that are possible, and a lot of innovation is happening. We see a lot of terms. So part of this series of webinars is kind of like helping us understand where is the industry, how to rapidly launch a product, who do we talk to, how do we connect the dots, those type of things. And just putting a little bit of, we've been thinking about this at Hello Iconic, and just putting a little bit about thinking about that. So in the next slide, you're going to see that we have noticed that at least there are two sides of things. There is the fintech that are more consumer and client facing. It could be B2B, B2B2C, or B2C directly. And there are the infrastructure fintechs, the fintechs that help those companies launch, connecting your bank account, moving money, having a banking account, and similar. So that's a little bit on the industry. Just like moving to that next slide. At Hello Iconic, we try to connect the dots. So right now, I think we have three interesting sides of the story. So we have SUMA, that it's definitely a consumer-facing fintech with a really special purpose. And then we have MX, definitely a key partner to have access to all that data, all that banking data and information and insights. And then us as Hello Iconic trying to connect the dots and try to do those integrations and being able to launch a product. So yeah, so with that, I think let's just get started. And yeah, so I would like to give some space, maybe Mary. I know I talked a lot already, so I will I would love to hear you, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about you and what SUMA is doing, and then we're going to leave some space for Cindy as well. So.
Yeah, for sure. Hello, everybody. So really quick, I'm Mary Hernandez, COO of SUMA Wealth. We've been live for about a year and a half now. I want to say, maybe we just had a 1-year anniversary last November. So it just feels like we've been on a lot longer, with all the progress that we've made. A little background on myself, I'm a native to digital media production background as well, and then in my early days, I did do a lot of real estate, mortgage lending and whatnot. So, I'm very familiar in that space as well. What can I say? I mean, when Beatriz invited me to be a part of SUMA, I was doing my own thing and in the process of launching my own agency, as well as I co-founded a Latina organization called Loose Media with my partner. And, she talked to me about the possibility of, working on a company that was going to help bridge the wealth gap. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like, let me understand this a little bit more. And as she told me the mission, it's something that is very passionate for me, growing up, immigrant family, trying to understand finance myself. My parents, they did the best that they could. What do your parents tell you? We're a young Latino kid. Hey, mija, go to college, get a stable job and, get a house, get married, have kids, don't ruffle any feathers, Mary, just stay on your path. But in that, in that life plan there, the learnings of, retirement, the learnings of understanding savings, like all of that, it just something that, at least my parents didn't know. And, I remember from the age of 9-10 years old, when I had to navigate the system for them, help them understand, translator, become their doctor, their accountant, their attorney, everything at the age of 9. I felt that SUMA was on the right track and had that mission to be able to talk to that influencers such as myself and empower them with the education and the tools and the access. So here at SUMA, that's our sole purpose, is to be able to provide access, education, and tools, to our community and be able to help them think of how to build generational wealth and how to do that in a very easy, fun manner. We throw in entertainment, whenever we can. We believe that finance does not have to be that complex. It can be simple and fun, as easy as like, how do I understand my credit with, a guacamole recipe? So we do fun stuff like that.
I love the guacamole reference. I've seen the art that you shared at SUMA, which is amazing. Yeah, I totally relate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, sometimes I think we overthink what these themes could be or what these topics. Oh, yo no sé, I don't understand what that is. Like, how do I even? Why do I need credit? Well, these are the reasons why. So we try to put it in a very fun and culture way so people can understand it.
Nice. Cool. And we're gonna come back to that right in a moment.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that the story it's super interesting. Also, how you started and all that. Cindy, we'd love to hear a little bit about you. If you could introduce yourself and MX.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me here. Just love connecting with you anytime I can. SUMA is such a fun client to work with, and Hello Iconic as a partner. And so I'll start with MX. What we exist to support companies like SUMA and the consumers, the end users that SUMA is really helping. And MX is really the market leader in open finance. We provide secure open finance API connections to data that power all of these kinds of use cases for fintechs and financial institutions. So this allows consumers, people like me and you, to drive how our own banking and financial data is shared and accessed with third-party applications like SUMA. And so our MX products, our data intelligence, they're truly the building blocks that enable our fintech and banking customers to power these products and services and improve the financial lives of millions of people. And so I feel like I'm probably biased, but I think I have the best role at MX. It's called a Fintech Client Strategy Consultant.
Mhm.
And what I get to do is I get to advise Fintech clients of MX on how to maximize our solutions as well as our partnership in order to achieve our clients' strategic business goals and help them and their customers really win. And what really helps me in my role is that before I came to MX, I worked at FormFree, and FormFree was and still is also a fintech client of MX's. So I got to really know MX very well from the client perspective. So even though I've been at MX for only for less than a year, about 10 months, I got to know them very well for several years through the FormFree relationship. So it's really easy for me to think of myself as an extension of my clients' teams inside MX. And I get to further their goals, understand their business, and really touch every area inside of MX to meet their needs. Every day is different. Every situation is different. It's really doing whatever is necessary to optimize their outcomes and their success. So it could mean influencing the product roadmap. It could be analyzing their data and improving performance. It could be providing advice on product utilization. It's really identifying and acting on any of those opportunities to maximize their success, because ultimately our customer success is MX's success, and it helps us achieve our mission of empowering the world to be financially strong. So it's a lot of fun, and it also allows me to draw on different areas of my background, from working in fintech companies, working in other SaaS companies, and even my long ago other experiences that don't even have to do with technology, but just really helps me have a very diverse perspective about businesses and consumers.
Nice. And and highlighting something that I've seen and being in the space, like definitely with MX, you feel that personal connection and touch, like you definitely go the extra mile in giving that advice. And I've seen you in your role, and definitely I've seen MX in general in multiple relationships, and I see that closer relationship is not only the transactional API access and all that, like you have plus the API, the data, the insights, all those products that you're building, but at the same time, that closer relationship is something that is super important, I think, when you're launching a product. Getting started, so in this conversation, so Mary, I would actually like to know, so we saw the numbers, 470,000 community members, and one of the things that always caught my eye about SUMA is the strategy on starting with a community first and then building the product. So can you share us a little bit about why that strategy, and at the same time, how did you do that shift? Because it's a big shift from building a community, maintaining a community, to, okay, now let's build a product, launch it and all that. So we'll definitely love to hear your thoughts there.
Yeah, for sure. I think for us, having an entertainment background, it was one of those things where just because we're Latinos, we're not gonna assume that we know best, what they want and what they need. We also understand that within our demo, there's a lot of trust issues when it comes to finance. There's a lot of legacy issues there in our community. They don't trust the banking systems. They want to keep their money in the mattress, or they want to keep it in the jar, in the kitchen. So I think we took a very unorthodox approach, and now I hear more talk about community building with Web3 and NFTs and whatnot. So now it makes me feel more at peace that we were right on the track, right? I'm like, oh, we were ahead of the curve. So what we did is we went out and we launched thinking, let's build our community first. Let's understand what our community needs, by social listening, doing surveys, doing, mini activations so we could understand what the product can look like in the future. So we did do a lot of that. We had a goal for the year end in 2021 of 150,000 total community members. We're like, okay, this feels like we could achieve this.
Yeah.
And we surpassed that within the first quarter of last year.
Nice.
So of course we tweaked our goals,
Yeah.
because we were like, oh no. But it was really great that the community just took to it, and they kept asking for more. We were really becoming that money madrina, we call it, is
Yeah.
it's our, that godparent that comes and answers your question. So we really were becoming that to our community, and we saw them activating in multiple spaces.
Yeah.
They activated in our website, they activated in our DMs, we did an SMS strategy, email strategy, everything that you can think of to get all these community members together.
Nice.
We tried it out. And then we listened. We really listened to what they needed. We did analysis of all of our comments, analysis of all the direct messages that we were getting from our community to really understand what we needed. And one of the big questions, I would say two of the big questions that they would ask us is, who do you recommend? Who do you trust? Do you have a platform?
Yeah.
We didn't have on our roadmap to build the platform until 2023, or actually the end of 2022, 2023, because we knew that it was going to take a lot of time, a lot of, effort and, and product development, as being our partner, Jorge, in that. And because we just, they kept asking, we realized we had built this trust with the community, and how are we going to send people elsewhere after we built that trust? It's really like we send somebody elsewhere, and then we are trusting that they're going to do right by our community. So of course we shifted around, our priorities. We looked at our roadmap that we had. We started having sessions with yourself, started having sessions with Cindy as well, on the MX side, to try to figure out who the best partner would be for this API integration. And I think on both fronts, with both of your organizations, we were looking for a partner. We weren't looking for a transactional relationship. We were looking for somebody who would help us understand our community more, care about our community, be aligned on mission with both of you guys are, and just really walk with us hand in hand. So I think that's how we ended up just getting started, getting out there, and I think if you listen to your community a lot. And then also the team. I can't, without our team, our internal team, our external partners like yourselves, you're only as good as your team is, right? So our team, they're champions of this. I can't give them enough shout out. So many days and nights that they were just like, we're going to figure this out. We're going to look, I found this other nugget. This is important. No, wait, let me do another analysis. We're super data driven, and they really took it home to be able to help us put together, what we did for our product.
Nice. And following up a question there, being this, like, how to rapidly build and launch a fintech, and doing that shift. And I mean, I remember when we started talking, and then we went to the building mode and ended up launching 4 or 5 months later. So what are your learnings? What were the challenges to rapidly build and launch? And also at the same time, what do you think was key and worked for making it happen?
I would say some learnings, at least for myself, personal learnings, I would say, because my background is more entertainment and media. I didn't come from fintech, right? And it's understanding who are all the players out there that could help provide the API access. And what does that mean? Like, what is the difference between one company versus another company? What is the value add from each company? That was something that, because my background is entertainment and media, took a little bit more of a learning curve. I had to really understand each company at core, what they were going to provide for us. Because once you decide on the right partner, you get going, and that you have somebody there with you that will not only just provide that integration, but MX helps provide, insights. Okay, now we want to do AI enabled insights. They have that product. MX also helps provide additional data. Oh my God. And the data, the cleaning of the data, that was another thing that, you could either get raw data that's not very clean versus data that's a little bit more organized that could help you move a little faster. So I think that is one of the things for us, at least for myself, that I didn't understand exactly what this meant until we really dug in, researched the company, found the right partner.
Yeah.
And I think on the development side with you, Jorge, it was understanding, okay, what does the first version of the product look like? What is good enough right now so we could understand the community look like, and not be afraid of that, by the way. Because I do come from that background, I'm always thinking, oh, the brand, and this is clunky, and this is, so I think it's also surpassing and getting over that fear that your user is there for you. They're going to forgive you. They're going to understand, hey, listen, you're building this for us. You're giving us a tool. We get it. As long as you communicate with them and they understand, hey, we're doing a test. We want your feedback. We want to improve our product. But I found that at least it's kind of a bit of it's jarring, right, at first, that this is not ready for production. Is it? Is it ready to go live? So it's getting past also that personal fear of putting something out there and not really knowing, if our end user is going to say, oh, pues no sé, they don't like it, and I think once we got past that, at least those are the two key things. I think it's just that fear and that knowledge gap. But once we got past that, it was really, now I think it's really understanding more the user and the touch points, how they're using the app, how they're going to be using the data that we're providing in that summary, because we're doing a financial checkup. Just realized I didn't talk about that. But we're doing a financial checkup. We're giving them that first look of how are they in their finances. So it's really understanding, what are they going to do with that next? And what would they like to see from us next? So I think those are at least the next things that we're focused on.
That's awesome. And just thinking about it and talking a little bit about it, like that the effect of launching something that you can put in the hands of your users, the first user are normally gonna understand that that's the first version that you want to solve their problems. And I think you touched something super important, that one of the things that I think we did pretty good with SUMA was analytics from the first day. So basically we had some analytics. We had the data side of things on MX. We had some amplitude connection for other type of analytics, seeing the data and connecting it to other type of analysis, more on the types of accounts and everything. So I think that's something that was super, super important there. Just moving to Cindy, and still a little bit on this subject, but I something that it's really interesting about your profile and MX profile is that you see a broad range of fintechs, right? So we were talking a little bit about SUMA, but I would love to hear your thoughts on what are some of the, like, thinking about rapidly launching a fintech, what are the common challenges that you have seen in the space that fintechs face? And what are the things that you have seen that work? Like, maybe you can share some of the patterns from your experience.
Yeah, it's really great because we get to see such a wide range, and so there's a lot of challenges that I personally see and my team sees, and I think Mary really hit on so many of them, not as challenges but things that they really met and did so well. In terms of getting that trust of a community, getting also that engagement and ownership, even though I know it's, as she mentioned, scary to launch something that may not be ready, but that idea that you have they're invested in kind of co-developing or co-creating something with you, that's a huge challenge to have overcome or to really have capitalized on that. But yes, we see lots of challenges. It's such a competitive, such a fast moving landscape. I think I'll think of three that companies really, fintechs consistently come to MX to solve. Number one is simply, of course, that access to data. In order to provide value to their customers, fintech companies, their entire company, right, is based on the need for this connectivity. And they need that connectivity to be secure in order to connect and verify that customer data. And that's really MX's bread and butter. We are the leader in open finance, our modern connectivity. We have the most tokenized connections in the industry, which really provide that secure, fast, and reliable connection. The second challenge is they need for that data to be actionable, just like Mary said. We call it activating the data, right? So our data engines are able to take that raw transactional data, which often looks like Greek, and provide context, right?
Yeah.
We can tell you about the merchant, the location data, the logo. We can cleanse and categorize and just give that context to all of that raw data. So it's not just that you just have all the data, but what are you going to do with it? So we are able to really add on that layer to make that data meaningful and insightful for the end user. And as Mary said, this comes from years and years of development and our data teams and machine learning in our system, which has really led us to have industry-leading categorization accuracy up to 95%. So, in the use case of someone in a budgeting app or personal financial management, you're not spending hours of your life trying to figure out where your spending went, right? That's automatically done for you. So that intelligence is just already automated and delivered. And third, fintechs all want speed to market, right? They want a solution yesterday or a year ago, right? That they can put in front of customers quickly. They want to deliver personalized experiences that drive growth, but they also want the flexibility, right, to innovate and differentiate. And that requires, if you're going to iterate and innovate, you need to be able to move quickly. So Mary mentioned our insights, and we have insights. We also have a mobile banking app product. We have wellness insights as well. And so by providing those, fintechs can really shave off months or years of research and development by using parts of our off-the-shelf solutions and to plug those in, but also having the option to customize and differentiate using our APIs. And we're even working on even more ways to make those solutions extensible so that clients can take those building blocks and then have a lot more control. And so SUMA is a great example of someone who took, with the help of your team, insights and took all of that, that intelligence and took it just from the API and decided to, really customize it so that it would match SUMA branding. You have such a strong voice, such a wonderful, colorful brand, so that, it gave you that head start so that you didn't have to do all of that. And then you could really focus on your differentiation, on your personalization. So I would say those three challenges: access to data, making that data actionable, and then the ability to innovate really quickly.
Yeah, and talking about the speed to market, we ended up we were launching new insights every week. I think we had a really good pace when we were focusing in that side, and definitely that was having the data already and just tailoring it to the SUMA brand. I think that was super, super important. You both mentioned the matter of trust, and something that definitely it's something that we're seeing in the fintech space right now, in the consumer fintech, is that community-oriented fintech. So of course we have SUMA, for example, very focused on the Latinos. We have First Boulevard / Kinley, focused on Black America. We have things like Daylight, focus on the LGBTQ community. We have something like Finch, focusing on the kind of like the Gen Z's college students. So could you, I would like to hear both your thoughts about this trend that we're seeing on this very community specific initiatives. Why is it happening now? Why is it relevant now? And at the same time, do you see any other communities that are underserved right now that we should pay attention to? And I don't know who wants to start.
I'm off mute. I'll go ahead.
Yes.
This trend is just so wonderful to see in the past few years. This greater awareness of the need for financial inclusion. The awareness of these underserved groups that have been left out, not seen, and really missing out on opportunities, not only for upward mobility and generating growth, generating wealth, but even driven to poor alternatives. like expensive or undesirable alternatives like payday loans and auto title loans and check cashing services and et cetera. So even though this is a newer trend, financial inclusion has always been relevant to MX. Our mission since 2010 has been to empower the world to be financially strong. So, certainly a trend that we love to see. One group I'd add to your list is recent immigrants. Nova Credit is one fintech that's helping immigrants establish credit profiles in the U.S. According to the CFPB, about 22% of Americans adults, that's 50 million US adults, don't even have a FICO credit score. So we know it's a problem. We know there's a real need to change and find alternative ways to deem someone creditworthy for communities who may have unique needs or may have been discriminated against in the past. So I think there's maybe two things that I think kind of are influencing this pattern. One, I think, is it kind of reflects the general increasing awareness and the demand for social change in our country, which I think is just wonderful to see that fight for equality for marginalized groups. And I think it's really just gratifying and hopeful to see fintechs try to fill that need and improve lives and also our global economy. I also think it's a reflection of just the amazing advancements and what's possible with technology to create banks that really can serve and target certain demographics of people that are not dependent on geography or their physical locations or some of those other limitations.
Yeah, for sure. Mary, we'd love to hear your thoughts here as well.
Yeah, I was going to add, I think one demographic that we didn't mention is women. All women in general. I think when we were at a recent conference with MX, we met She Banks, and they're focused on providing solutions for women. So I think that's something, again, you think of, the stay-at-home mom that has, a couple of jobs that doesn't have access or doesn't know, how to understand their finances. I think that is also still a big gap in how do we provide services to that woman to help them overcome certain barriers that they may have, on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I myself am a child of immigrants, so I think that is a big thing. My parents, they came to this country and didn't know what a credit score was, didn't know why they needed it. I mean, I grew up, and I don't know if this is probably common in our community, but I grew up, don't get in debt, don't ask for favors, don't owe anybody anything. And so that's also, like, I think for the Latino community, it is one of those things that, okay, you yes and no, right? It's a cultural barrier that we see. We don't want to owe anybody anything, but we need to find ways to establish credit in a positive manner that affects us, to help us, get access to even at least, a mortgage later on in life, be able to purchase a car. I think things like that, I'm hoping that at least for us, SUMA will be able to bridge that communication, education gap that there is in the space, and be able to also provide a place that they can trust, right? That they can come to us, and not only through our service, but hopefully through the partnerships that we're able to build and provide them with access, so I think those are the two I think communities that are still underserved, for sure, and immigrants for sure, and women.
That's super interesting. Moving a little bit also on the evolution of the market. Another trend that we're seeing is companies that are not traditionally called a fintech. So, for example, we're working with a company called Just Data, focused on the retail space, and they are basically a fintech, but more kind of doing those cashback and buy now, pay later solutions. So you wouldn't traditionally call it a fintech, but you start seeing stores, companies giving employee benefits and such. So can you tell us a little bit what you see happening there in that space of the what's being called the embedded fintech space?
Sure, I can speak to
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I think it's so exciting and absolutely the future of where the space is going. And when we do see embedded finance as becoming the norm, and I think it's all about embracing this idea of taking action in the context,
yeah,
right? And what Suma has done so well of really understanding your customer,
yeah,
and where they actually are, right? And being where they are. And I think it just provides simply a better experience, right? A customer experience for payments, loans, insurance, access to that to be embedded directly into the customer experience. And as you mentioned, with this, huge rise of buy now, pay later,
yeah,
we've seen this with e-commerce merchants,
yeah,
embedding lending at checkout.
yeah.
It has been shown to increase conversion by 30%,
Oh, wow.
which is
Yeah,
huge, right, for a
yeah,
retailer.
yeah,
And also increasing ticket sizes by
yeah.
as much as 50%. So I absolutely see this as the future.
Nice. Yeah. No, that's super cool. I don't know, Mary, if you have something there. Yeah.
No, no, no. I was just gonna add, I think with open finance, I think we just have so much opportunity, that goes beyond what we thought what we were capable
Yeah.
of having access to, and the type of solutions that we can create in the future.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, if you think of traditional fintech and what it was set out to be, I mean, now there's so many access points.
Yeah.
It's like you could find, a gap in a specific area, and oh, well, maybe I can tackle this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think of what like Cash App and Venmo have done as well. I think Cash App now even allows you to do your taxes.
Yeah.
You're just like, wait a minute, with a click of a button, I could do through
Yeah.
my Cash App, literally. It has, for you to invest, for you to buy Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
you think it's just, I think with that having that being able to, for us to access from an API standpoint here, because we
Yeah.
have the open finance, not the open banking, I think that does take us to a whole other level beyond what we thought that we could do.
Yeah. No, I think that's super important. And just because it's really interesting and talking about the open finance, right? Like if for example, you want to do a solution that needs some payroll, you have something like Pinwheel, for example, like Atomic Financial, for example, just for doing something like that. Or if you want to go all the way on the banking side of things, somebody like Rise, Unit, of course, Galileo, that has been in the industry. So actually launching those elements of the fintech, now there are partners that you can have and use that will solve many of those obstacles that you would have in the past. And then you can, that's probably why we're seeing this innovation, right, in this era. Okay, we have about 15 minutes left, so I don't know if there are any questions from the audience. So just remember that there is a Q&A section where you can send us some of those questions. Would definitely love to hear a little bit about what you are thinking right now. So just let me just see. I see some. I see that there is a chat. So let me just take a look at that. Some technical element here. But yeah, like basically, if we have any questions, just please send us in the Q&A section for sure. While we get in some of that, so Mary, I've seen you very active on the NFT space. So it sounds like SUMA is doing things and that. Can you tell us a little bit more about, again, in this evolution of the market, how do you see NFTs, and can you share a little bit about what's happening for SUMA in that space?
Yeah, I mean, currently we are exploring partnerships for a mercadito, an NFT mercadito.
Ah.
This is something, again, that we've heard a lot from our community. What are NFTs? What is that? I don't understand it. Is it just a gift? Is it just like, why would I purchase this? Why would I, we get so much inbound about NFTs and crypto as well, that one of the things that we decided to do as SUMA is really understand the value of what an NFT can be to somebody.
Yeah.
right? And the way that I see NFTs, at least for me, it's NFT they do a couple of things, but one key thing that they do is provide access or a license to do something.
Yeah.
And a license or a right, to be like to be able to vote on what that project is doing or whatnot. I think for us is providing access. Our NFT particularly is going to be providing access to our users for additional education services, additional, I would say, like, if you're an entrepreneur, potentially access to capital.
Yeah.
Like, we're taking it a little bit differently. This is more than just, this is your token that will give you access to additional building blocks in your wealth building journey.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we're looking at NFTs through that lens. I mean, of course, it's going to be cool and fun and in culture how SUMA does
Yeah.
best. And we hope to be able to provide, I would say, like, from a financial health standpoint as well, be able to provide people learning blocks as they collect their NFTs and they understand a little bit more what these things are. But I would say, I mean, just imagine if, and I'm going to say a reference to probably an old singer, but so imagine, for the crowd that loves Bad Bunny, that they owned an NFT that would help, and now Bad Bunny doesn't have to go to the record label, but, through this NFT, you guys work together collectively as a group to decide, how do you distribute this? Where does it get distributed? How does it get sold? There's so many different things that we can do with them. So I think for us, we are exploring that, and we're exploring it in a way that, listening to our community, again, just understanding what they need.
Nice. I have a question from the audience, and it's about regulation and compliance. And we should have, like, for launching rapidly a fintech, what regulations and compliance challenges we may see, and then again, like, how did you face some of those, SUMA, and then as well, Cindy, what have you seen what are the elements of regulation and compliance that we have to be aware of when launching a fintech? So I don't know, maybe Mary, you can start, and then and then Cindy.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's a great question. By the way, compliance as a service, if somebody can figure that out, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Just
I'll write it down.
There. Write that down. Somebody take that with you. That's a token. Because that is I mean, regulation and compliance, once you get into certain things within, like making money moves, there's going to be compliance there that you're going to have to do. Turning into a neobank, there's certain levels of compliance, certification process. There's a lot of things that you will have to take into consideration, buying, and finding the right bank partner or whatnot. If you're going to become a bank yourself, you got to also, there's other regulations and compliance that you have to understand. I think for us, we are very hyper focused on education. So we had a couple of things that we had to have in place, no matter what. One was being SOC 2 compliant, and being able to have that. So that was something that we had to move really quickly, find a partner find the place that we were going to host all our data, again, data and cybersecurity. That was the other big thing that we had to find. So we did find a partner, Cyvatar, which, thank you, Jorge, for that introduction. They were able to move really quickly to help us with our cybersecurity, because that is something that, again, for what we are doing today, that's what we needed to do. We do know that if we want to move forward with banking solutions, money moves, savings, anything that has to do with that, there are going to be additional layers that you have to go through.
Awesome. And Cindy, we'd love to hear your take on that part of cybersecurity and compliance. And I even know that you, as MX, you ask for some things that are contractually obligated to, but we'd love to hear your thoughts also on the compliance side of things and regulation.
Yeah, I don't think anyone loves talking about compliance or dealing with it. It's not the sexy, fun part of launching a new product. But I think the main thing I have to say is, please don't neglect it. It's I think so it can be very tempting or easy for companies to say, oh, that's not so important. You're kind of focused on your vision and what you want to accomplish. But it's, you're dealing with such sensitive data, and it's, I think, only going to get, more regulated.
Yeah.
In the United States, there's, more regulation coming. But all the things that Mary said, depending on what you're actually doing with the data, if you're storing it yourself, you need to get that SOC 2 compliance. And I think, even if it's not currently, if there's, maybe there is that we don't know of, compliance as a service, finding the right partners, just like you find the right legal counsel and that kind of thing, and really working with them. And if you have someone in-house or someone that you, contract with for that, to really, don't see them as a blocker, see them as someone who's protecting you and looking out for your interests, because, it's so hard to keep on top of all those things. So to have somebody who's really focused on that, and then trust them, and follow their advice. One other thing I'll mention is also to be cognizant of people with disabilities. And if you're a consumer facing fintech, and you have a website, a mobile app, there's that level of compliance as well, to make sure your web content accessibility are following those guidelines, and those are constantly changing. And there's been lawsuits and things like that related to people in your community who may not be able to access your services if they're not accessible for people who need them. So that's another aspect of financial inclusion, but also something that is important to be aware of with compliance. But as I mentioned before, I think regulation in many ways will actually spur growth in this area, for us to have, guidelines about open finance and how data is shared. And so, it's really important. And I think it is really, really important just to find the right partners who will walk you through those.
Nice. Yeah. And I'm taking note of the compliance as a service, because knowing companies, for example, like Salvatore, I do see that there is a gap. There is a lot of talk about cybersecurity, but there's definitely that specific need of compliance. And having worked with large companies, they have it solved, because it was like, okay, send it to legal and they will have, like they had a privacy, they had a security side of things, they had a compliance side of things. So they kind of had like a whole team. But as a fintech startup that you're starting, then it's kind of hard. And I know Salvatore helped in many of those things, but it's really, really interesting how you're calling it, like the compliance as a service kind of solution, which is, I'm taking that note for sure. Hopefully we get to see a solution for that.
I think it'd be great. I mean, one thing that could help is to have like a roadmap to what kind of compliance do you need and at what stage. Because that would have saved us even more time. We got to market a lot faster than we thought. But if I had a roadmap thinking, okay, this is what I'm gonna do in this phase, so I need this. For this phase, I'm gonna need this. I've had to do that research myself. I've had to, talk to attorneys, which is very taxing and time consumption, and to Cindy's point is I get their advice and really listen to them. I think the more tools that we are provided as fintechs, because we're trying to move quickly, trying to understand our user, trying to innovate, and improve our product. And all of these things, and we get caught up. Oh no, we don't have that. Oh, we got to go get that. Oh, now how do we figure out this question, because we don't have that. I think any type of roadmap or even anything that could help us move a little faster would be great.
I'm thinking about it, like I'm taking that note, the fintech launch manual. We should definitely fit and it's like all the challenges and kind of like setting different steps, as you were mentioning, like just understanding the market, for example, and what are the players and the solutions that you may need. I like that. Like I'm definitely taking a note on that. We have a final question, and then I think we're gonna close. But we have a question from LinkedIn. This is being streamed live on LinkedIn as well. So there is this question, and I like it because I also had it in the notes. It's like there is a lot of investment in the fintech space, and there are definitely many companies appearing right now. And do you think that this is still a moment of expansion of the fintech space, or do you see a consolidation coming in the near future? I even asked myself, like, is a new market, is this expansion actually the creation of new market, or is it we're gonna see at the end, okay, everything is going to start to consolidate, as we see in cycles in other industries. We'd love to hear your thoughts there. Yeah.
I'll say I personally still think there's still a lot of room for expansion. I know there's a lot of talk of big tech coming, Apple and Amazon are going to grab up all the market share. But there's a lot of competition. There's new companies springing up every day. But ultimately, I feel like there are still problems to solve. There's still a ways to go until we're really in a global economic system that's really consumer centric, that preserves privacy, that's operationally efficient, that's iterative, that's financially inclusive. I just think there's still so much growth there. So I personally think we're going to keep expanding.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would say, I always simplify things, but if you think about how, what started happening in the beginning, right? It was like, oh, how do I improve banking and just banking alone? And how do I improve these little things? And I think those were the baby steps to get us here and to the future.
Yeah.
There's definitely still a lot of communities that are underserved. There's a lot of communities that are underbanked in general, not unbankable, but underbanked. So I think that there is room to do not only that, but more and improve and really innovate, being that we do have access to the open finance. I mean, I can't echo how important it is that we have access to that here in Europe. It's so different than the access points that they get. It's so limiting, I'm sure there's a lot more there, but I do think that there is a lot more that we can provide to each of our communities. And there's a lot of problems that need to be solved when it comes to access for our communities, in every area, everything from credit, everything from understanding savings, everything from, understanding crypto and all of these new things that are happening in that space. So I do think that we're not even there yet. So that's just my take.
No, that's great. Yeah, I'm also a believer, like based on the companies that I see and the areas that they're trying to solve. I think there's still a lot of space. I think we're probably creating a new space in general. That's my firm belief, and I think it's still expanding. I know I said it was the last question, but we had another question from LinkedIn that I think is super interesting. We didn't touch much about blockchain, but this person is asking like those challenges on the blockchain payments and the fintech ecosystem. Like I would definitely love to hear your thoughts on how does the blockchain payment side of things get into, like we talk about a lot about fintech more on the traditional side of things, and we talk a little bit about the NFTs, but where do you see the blockchain payment systems fitting into all this that is happening right now?
Gosh, I'll go over a learning that we recently came across. It's so weird because it needs to catch up, right? The traditional transactional payments to what crypto payments and blockchain, what all of this is. I think right now we are exploring partnerships as well to be able to do transactions, because that's we do NFTs, there's the blockchain and whatnot. And there's still, how do I say, there's still hesitance, from the banks. So I'm just going to say it. But I think that, there are organizations out there who are tackling that at scale. And they are helping bridge that communication so that you are able to transact. And, again, that's something that right now we're going through the process of vetting partners that are going to be able to support us through that, at least through that I would say that communication, right? From what was just traditional, swipe your card, ACH, whatever payment to now we want to transact also in crypto. We want to buy, crypto, we want to buy tokens, blah, blah, blah. So we're exploring that right now because there's still that hesitancy, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of regulation that go along with that and policy. So we're working through it, but just know that there are partners out there who are working through this at scale that, can help, relieve that pain point.
Nice, nice, nice. Cindy, any thoughts there? Yeah.
I'll just add that, Mary mentioned the hesitation, right? And just this, there's people who are just ready to jump in, right? And then
Yeah.
there's going to be the ones that are more hesitant, and then are in terms of our whole financial system working together, right? We need also institutions to get on board, and that kind of thing. And what I think is interesting, though, is she also mentioned regulation. And I think that even it was just a few weeks ago, actually, at the beginning of March, there was an executive order from Biden's office for a cryptocurrency directive from the White House to really to ensure responsible development of digital assets. So I think it's starting to get accepted that this is going to be part of the future, and so I'm just really excited to see where this goes, and how it's going to start coming part of our everyday lives.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and just mentioning a couple of those companies that I think are doing a great job. Sendwire for payments and things like that. Prime Trust, Zero Hash, Paxos, to being able to trade crypto, for example. So those are examples of companies that can help you solve some of those pains and regulation and all that. Even seen companies like Alto IRA working on top of Coinbase, which the Coinbase has this institutional solution. So definitely, there are companies working hard to solve this type of problems that you can rely on when launching your product. Cool. We are definitely a little bit over time. I don't know, maybe just a quick a conclusion from each of you. Like if you can, any final words that you have for the audience, definitely like maybe Cindy, we start with you, and Mary, we close with you. Yeah, we'd love to hear any final thoughts that you have for our audience. Yeah.
Sure. This has been so fun, and thank you again for having me. I think I'll just end with kind of where MX is now again, and kind of where we're headed. We're always going to be guided by our mission to empower the world to be financially strong, and we really believe that financial strength starts with that person's secure universal access to their own financial data, right? So we can safely control it, and we can share it with fintechs like SUMA, who are offering these incredible innovations that are driven by data. Fintechs that are improving the ways that we move money, invest, get qualified for a loan, for a mortgage, or in crypto, or even just simply trying to understand, a 360-degree view of your spending and your budget. So to really enable these innovations, we're just really focused right now on continuing to enhance and develop our direct tokenized connections to financial data for our customers. And as for the future, I think on the other side of the equation, you're going to see MX really working with banks to safely open up their data. Nice. We have a new open finance API that we are working with banks to implement. And so I really see us being recognized as for being at the forefront of powering an open finance economy that really benefits everyone, fintech, financial institutions, and most importantly, consumers' financial health.
Awesome. Thank you, Cindy. Mary?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Jorge. Cindy, it's been fun. I would say, just as a wrap up, when you're out there creating your product, don't ignore your community. Understand your user. Remember that we're building for them. So I think that's one big thing. And when you're vetting partners who are going to help you get the tools, get to market faster, do your due diligence, really look into how this company is going to work with you. Think of them working in the long run, even if this is not your forever partner. Anytime that I look at a partner, I look at them, can they be with me for 5 years, and who knows, they may not be with us for 5 years, but I always have to think of a partnership in that way. So I would say just kind of do your due diligence, think of how you guys can grow together, and yeah, don't be afraid. Just get out there.
Nice. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Mary. I think this has been a really interesting talk. So here is the contact information. I would just like to add that right now this industry is expanding. We're seeing these different takes on fintech. I would say that for rapidly launching a fintech, there are things that it's about creating that trust, that community, but at the same time, don't worry, because there's different companies like MX and others that we have mentioned through our conversation that can help you solve many of those problems that 10 years ago, it was impossible basically to solve, and it just needed like this huge institution to create that company. Now we can move rapidly with open finance, with embedded finance. We can now just connect those dots, evaluate partners, as Mary was saying. So I think that is super, super important. So thank you very much. Again, like this is the first of a series focused on fintech and blockchain. We're going to start inviting many of those companies and players that we've been working with, and also that we admire. So thank you everyone for being here. This video is going to be shared with you as well. It's going to be recorded and posted on both on our website, social media, and it's going to be sent by email to you. So thank you everyone, and bye-bye.